This is the Stingray Show, and coming up on this edition, we are going to talk a little college football. However, there is an event coming up in November at the Oxford Performing Arts Center that is involving Joe Nichols. And Joe Nichols, country artist, is about to join me right here on this edition of the Stingray Show to talk about his music career and his love for the Arkansas Razorbacks, plus the event that's coming up in November over in Oxford, Alabama, that is right now on this edition of the Stingray Show.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Those of you on Tide 100.9, look out. You're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
And with that, I want to welcome you inside another edition of the Stingray Show. And my guest this evening was born in Rogers, Arkansas. He has 11 studio albums, which he just did his 11th studio album last year. To date, he has over 2 billion with a B audio streams to date, as well as 3 Grammy nominations, a CMA Award, and multiple platinum and gold records, which include 4 number one singles: Brokenheartsville, Tequila Makes Her Clothes Fall Off, Give Me That Girl, and finally Sunny and 75. Please help me welcome to the Stingray Show country music artist Joe Nichols to talk about his current tour that he is on, and he has an event coming up next month at the Oxford Performing Arts Center in Oxford, Alabama. Joe, how are things with you?
Going great, man. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic, man. I'm really glad that you were able to join me. So talk a little bit about the tour that you are doing right now across the country.
Oh yeah, we're kind of getting close to winding it down. I think that weekend there, the 15th and 16th, I believe is my very last weekend of touring, and then we'll take a break until mid-January. But it's going great. We're somewhere in Indiana today, I think right around Indianapolis, and last night in Des Moines, and tomorrow night in Dayton. So we're trucking.
Man, that's awesome. So talk a little bit about what the tour entails, and are you taking it to Canada and elsewhere?
Oh yeah, we've gone about everywhere this year. I think we hit. Man, I can't remember if it was this year, last year. We hit Norway,
Okay.
the Netherlands. But we've done a lot of Canada stuff. Gosh, we covered every corner of the United States this year. We At the end of the year, we're gonna do about 70, 75 shows, and after slowing it down a little bit, like last year we did about 95, and the year before that was like 120. So kind of getting a little. Uh, Want to backing it down a little bit. Next year, I think we'll crank it back up over 80, 85.
All right. So you are a native of Rogers, Arkansas. Talk about your childhood, and especially when you got into your love for music and when you decided that that could potentially be a career move for you.
Um, Well, when I was in high school, I knew I could sing a little bit, but it was really hard to join a band. When I was in high school, if you wanted to join a band, it was rock and roll. So I've always sounded this way with my voice. I learned to imitate like Merle Haggard and George Jones and Randy Travis, Keith Whitley, George Strait. Those guys were all the guys I sang along with the radio, and those are the albums that I bought. And when you're like I said, when you're in high school, it's rock band or nothing or karaoke or something. And so I just sat in with country bands wherever they would let minors in, like on a weekend or something, and did sets there. But I knew that whether it was playing honky tonks or playing arenas, I wanted to do that with my life because I love country music. I love playing music live. I didn't really even do it for this reason or that. Money and girls were always great. I love that, but um, but I think I love playing music, performing music. I think since I was a little kid, I got an opportunity right out of high school and started my first band and then moved to Nashville when I was like 20.
All right. So talk about what it was like early in your career up in Nashville.
Uh, well, I'll tell you what, the 5 years that I was there before my first major label release,
Mhm.
um, it was rough, man. I did a lot of, odd jobs, regular jobs, just I laid concrete, which is a rough job. I appreciate anybody out there that lays concrete. That's a tough job in the summertime, especially in Nashville. Um, I was a cable guy for a little bit. That was fun. Roofed houses. I did a lot of stuff like that, just paying bills, learning how to get better. On the miserable days, it will make you want to go home from work and study how to sing better, play better, write better. Like, man, I don't want to have many more days like this. I need to get better at what I do. And that really did help quite a bit. Being broke and hurting from your job will motivate you to do something different. And so that's what it did for me. And when I got my first single out there, The Impossible, everything changed. Everything changed.
And speaking of that, in July of 2002, you released your second album, which included the well known song The Impossible. What gave you the inspiration to write and release that song, The Impossible?
Well, The Impossible, out of the singles on that one, that's one of the ones I didn't write. I didn't write Impossible or Brokenheartsville. I wrote Cool to Be a Fool and What's a Guy Got to Do a little bit behind that one. But I knew that we had a special song when I cut it. It just felt like it was easy to listen to sonically, but the message of the song was so profound. Um, at the time, we were maybe less than a year from September 11th.
Hmm.
It was, yeah, we were. It was like March of 2002, and so people were feeling pretty sad, angry, and a little hopeless, and wanted messages like that. Like The Impossible to kind of lift everybody up. And I think that really did help quite a bit. The Impossible. Sometimes unsinkable ships sink, and sometimes unbendable steel bends. But the message of that song was hope. There is another side of this. Um, there's going to be a great outcome here. We just keep hope, and that's what that song was. A huge song for me. But I knew that we had the song behind it that was going to be my stamp song, what I would call my signature song, which was Broken Heartsville, and it blew the doors off everything. Sold 1 million records. Was number one song. Got nominated for a Grammy. That was, I think, either the first time or second time I was nominated for a Grammy. Maybe The Impossible was first, and then male vocalist, I should say. And then next year, I think Broken Heartsville got me another nomination for male vocalist. But those were big songs. That was a big album, and like I said, everything changed.
And so, talk a little bit more about how that changed your life in the music industry and personally, please.
Well, it changed my life in that my ego swelled out of control immediately. I had to keep that in check all the time. Um, where I was talking about, the jobs I had before, and I was paycheck to paycheck, like 90% of the country is. And I was about that way for 3 years. After I had number one songs, and I had to go spend what little money I had on a suit to go to an award show. That's honestly the truth. I didn't really make any money after maybe for 3 years after The Impossible was number one. Just the way touring goes, and when you start off in debt to a record label, it's really hard to get out of that debt.
Right.
Um, but I eventually did, and it was a funny thing, man. I would like I said, I lived paycheck to paycheck too for a couple of years. It was all just fame for a while, and then once I started making money, it got a lot better that way. But initially, my ego was great. I was a young guy. I was,
Mhm.
interested in a lot of things, especially girls.
Yeah.
And, that changed quite a bit.
Right. So in 2004, you spent time touring with Alan Jackson. What was that experience like, and what are some of your favorite memories of that tour?
Ah, boy, man, that was the best tour. That tour and Toby Keith were fantastic tours. With Alan, it was my first big arena show tour where we'd go out and play in front of 15, 20,000 Alan Jackson fans, and I'd do about 20 minutes. I had one song on the radio that was a hit, Impossible, and Brokenheartsville was kind of just breaking onto the scene, and that was 2003, I believe, and we were supposed to do like 2 weekends with him, and he called right after that and said, "Hey, how'd you like to just do the whole year?" And I was like, "Man, that'd be time of a life, a time of my life." And so we did about a year and a half, and I saw a lot of great things. I was introduced to a lot of fans. They saw how country I was. Alan appreciated that I was a traditional guy that was kind of carrying the torch. And I believe he would have had me that long had he seen that I was kind of one of the rockier kind of pop driven kind of country music. That's just the way he is. He's a traditional country guy. And always a pleasure to be around that guy. I appreciate everything about him. The songwriting he did, um, the country guy he was, his appreciation for real authentic music, and he called BS BS.
Right.
And like I said, he gave me a chance to meet 20,000 country fans every night. That was a big deal to me.
Do you happen to have any fun stories that you could share with us about you and Alan Jackson?
you know, no, nothing. I don't have any stories to share really. It's nothing, bad or anything like that.
Mhm.
I'm always the guy. I want to respect privacy of guys like that. If we have shores that we know between the two of us, it not like horrible stories or anything
Right.
like that. Just like private conversations that you wouldn't want to, I wouldn't want somebody to share all over the place. So
Okay.
probably not, but I can tell you that he's a really good guy and a very cerebral guy. He doesn't say much. He's not a big long talker or anything like that. Um, and he does not think like super highly. A lot of big stars like that can think really highly of themselves, and you can kind of feel that in a lot of ways. And he was not one of those guys. He is not one of those guys that kind of makes everybody know who the star is around here. And never got that feeling from him. He's a good dude.
So, in June of that same year, you released your third studio album, which featured my personal favorite, What's a Guy Gotta Do? What was the inspiration behind that song, and how
Yeah.
long did it take you to record that single?
Uh, well, the inspiration for writing that song was we needed something ditty-ish. We sat down with a couple ideas. Me and Kelly Lovelace and Don Sampson, I believe. We were thinking about tempo. Was do with maybe a relationship type of song, a breakup song like Broken Heartsville. What do we write about? And we just kind of stumped. My home is Arkansas, and so we have Walmart's big deal there, and so we just kind of stumbled around on an idea like, hey man, what's a guy got to do to get a girl in this town? Like maybe we should write about that instead of a relationship song. Let's make it a little younger. At the time, like I said, I was just having a time of my life. I was 25, 26 years old. Just
Right.
you know, every time was a story. Every time was a new experience. And so we kind of wanted to write something like that. Like I haven't been divorced 2 or 3 times, or I haven't done a lot of this or done a lot of that. So let's write what I know. And I knew Walmart, and I knew, hey, what's a guy got to do to get a girl in this town? It's pretty dead around here.
Right.
And so we put Walmart in the song. Got to have that in the song since I represent. And we put artichoke hearts in the song. I don't think that's ever been done. Um, but yeah, it was just a fun little song. I think initially when I wrote it, it was maybe I wanted something Roger Millery. I
Yeah.
remember kind of thinking he had these melodic hooks and simple little songs that were sometimes one or two chords, and it was a minute long, but it was a
Yeah.
huge song. He just had songs like that, and I wanted to write something
Mhm.
Roger Miller. So we got that a lot of singing when you start the song. it's one big breath and one long line of singing. So
Yes.
what's a hey guy gotta do to get a girl? And for the first 30 seconds of the song, it's just one giant uh steady singing without a breath, And so we thought about putting a on the record, like this big gasp right before that. But that was a lot of fun making that song, man. Almost got up there. I think at one time it was in the top 5 and
Right.
kind of got pushed out by, I think, Live Like You Were Dying, maybe, and a big Kenny Chesney song was up there. A couple of really big songs kept it from number 1, but it was close. And any other, normal week, it might have been a number 1 song.
Man, I love that song.
Thank you.
It is so awesome. All
Thank you.
right. In 2005, you got to meet Anna Nicole Smith at the Grand Ole Opry. Talk about what it was like to meet her, and did you guys become close friends?
Well, we became friends. I don't know about close, real close friends, but we became friends. I was actually really shocked at how big of a fan she was. She came to the Opry to see me, and that was kind of surprising when they told me that she was there. They said she came here just for you, and I was like, okay, well, as a fan, like wanted to sit in the crowd and everything. Of course, they weren't going to let that happen.
Right.
That we're going to let Anna Nicole sit in the crowd. I think she did for a little bit for my performance spot, and like I said, I was just kind of surprised that this mega star person, probably the number one talked about celebrity at that time. Um, I was surprised that she wanted to go to the Grand Ole Opry and see some old school country music and see me play there. So we talked backstage quite a bit, and she super sweet lady. I don't think people remember that she was a super sweet country girl. I know
Mhm.
that sounds weird, but loved country music. Her favorite song was Dolly Parton, "Wings of a Dove." That was her favorite recording of all time. And so she told me that it was great to know that about her. And like I said, we became friends. Saw another couple of times after that. It's similar, kind of things. And then she passed away, I believe, in February of '07. And I believe her funeral was March 1st, 3rd, 5th, something like that. First week of March, I think. And I played her favorite song, "Wings of a Dove," at her funeral. And I played "I'll Wait for You," which her husband at the time told me was her favorite song in country music right then. She loved "Brokenheartsville," one of her all-time favorite songs. And at the time, she loved the song I had called "I'll Wait for You,"
Right.
which was on the chart and doing well. And you know, a lot of people in my personal orbit have asked me through the years. Like a lot of people don't know that I played her funeral. A lot of people know that was a sensational event and craziness around it, but nobody really knew that I played there.
Right.
And people ask me why. Um, and there's a couple of things throughout my career that I actually did right. And one of those things, I'm kind of patting myself on the back here a little bit because it does make me proud to know that there's a couple of things I did as try to be a decent human being, and I'm proud of that. A lot of things I did wrong. A lot of
Right.
things I did wrong. But this thing, I was asked by everybody and their mother to talk about this funeral, talk about her, talk about our relationship, and was there a thing or anything like that. And I refused to do any interview with anybody. Larry King called. Every single, I mean, talking about every media outlet you can think of called and wanted any kind of insight or anything like that, access to her life or her funeral or the people around. It was a spectacle. Um, but I would have felt like an awful human being if I
Right.
did that. And so that's why people don't know that I played her funeral, because it is not necessary. I was there for her. It was a sad thing. There was a lot of stuff that made me sad about her environment. There were a lot of people there that I could tell were just ridiculously phony people, and it made me sad that she had people like that in her life that were dominating a scene like that when this poor girl was laying there in a casket.
Right.
Um, we're sending her home, and that should be the topic, not how you look, not who you're talking to, not how much mileage you get out of this as a creative person. None of that crap. just be here for a person that's passed away and be human beings for the love of God. Let's
Right.
be normal people for a minute. And that's why I never talked about it, never really talked about it in the press, and
Right.
didn't want to put my name into any kind of circus or anything like that. She was a lovely girl.
Right. So, Joe, let's talk about the Grand Ole Opry. What was it like for you performing on such a historic stage?
I love it every time, man. I love it. It's kind of a built-in crowd for me, because most people that go to the Grand Ole Opry are familiar with the history of country music. They, for the most part, like the traditional stuff, which I'm a big fan of. Um, and I think they go hand in hand. I pay tribute to the old guys, old girls, and I think, like I said, it just feels like home. It's wonderful to stand on that square or stand on that circle. Sorry, at the opera stage, and also to go over and play the Ryman when they have the Opry over there. Sometimes a lot of history, and I'm a big country music history guy. Love that, and the crowd always responds well. Like I said, it's kind of a built-in fan base for me. So yeah, always special. I played there hundreds of times.
All right. The following year, and you talked about it just a little bit, you joined a tour with Toby Keith in '05 and in '06. Talk about that tour and some of your fondest memories of the late, great Toby Keith.
And that was a party. That was a party tour. One of those where every night was was a new set of circumstances. Toby was great, man. Another guy that was no BS. Um, had a rocking show. It inspired me to put a lot more energy into my show. It was right after Tequila Makes Your Clothes Fall Off came out, and it was just a fun tour. He was a great guy. Gave me a big shiny hunting rifle after the tour was over. It had a lot of engravings on it. It's one of my favorite things that I have at this moment. But
Right.
very good guy, man. I had some intense basketball games during the day too. That was fun.
Man, I really hate that we had to lose him so young.
Me too. Me too. He's a good man. I know that he was a tough guy. It was hard to see, what cancer did to him. It was hard to see him lose so much weight. And I just always had, this big. He was bigger than me. I'm nearly 6'2", over
Mhm.
200 pounds, and he kind of, he had me by a long shot. So just to see him kind of, go like that, it painful, sad deal.
Now, here recently in 2002, you decided to try your hand at acting, and one of those movies was Murder at Yellowstone City. What was that movie about, and what was it like acting with legendary actor Richard Dreyfuss?
Funny thing about Richard Dreyfuss, I never got to meet him. He got hurt. I don't know if I'm supposed to share this, but uh, so we went up to film this in Montana. It was a Western, and Richard Dreyfuss was supposed to be in a couple scenes that I was supposed to be in, and he fell right the day before we shot our scenes together, and busted his head open pretty good. And so a lot of the scenes that I was supposed to be in with him ended up getting cut because he couldn't be there for a lot of these scenes. And he joined the production later on. It was several weeks later. Matter of fact, some of those things were cut at separate times where it was just him in the shot because it was when some people weren't even there. So that was disappointing, man. I always wanted to meet him and work with him and everything. It's intimidating. I can tell you what, Gabriel Byrne, another actor I've always appreciated, The Usual Suspects, and Thomas Jane, very good actor. Kind of got into a character there. And the guy that was the right guard commercial, Isaiah Mustafa was the main character, and he was the guy in the right guard commercials. I think he played football for like Georgia. I want to say something like that, but
Mhm.
great guy, super great guy. So everybody on the show was really cool. Directed by my buddy Richard Gray. But it was really neat.
And what was it like for you to try your hand at acting?
Uh, it was fun. I think I learned a lot about the cutting room process. A lot of stuff. When you think, I had a lot of scenes that I shot. I was up there for about 4 or 6 weeks, something like that, shooting a lot of scenes. But I didn't make hardly any of the movie. It was that was disappointing. But like I told my buddy Richard, who directed the movie, I'm like, if my part's not good enough, if it makes the movie worse, or if I don't look good in it, cut it out of there. At the end of the day, it's about your movie and it ain't about me. We're not cutting a 2 hour promotion of Joe Nichols. So do what you got to do. But I appreciated the experience. Absolutely, just being on set. It was during COVID, so everything was a little weird
Right.
with the rules and all that kind of stuff. It slowed everything down, made everything just a little more difficult. But I learned a lot.
So let's get into a little bit of sports now. Your likeness in 2021 and your record company's logo were featured on the number 8 car of Tyler Reddick at NASCAR's Goodyear 400 in Darlington. How did that opportunity come about for you, and were you able to attend that NASCAR race?
Uh, yes. Well, actually, no. I was at the Nashville race
Okay.
where we had it on there. But now, the first time I saw that, I thought it was amazing. I should back up. Tyler Reddick is the grandson of the guy that owns the record label that I'm on, Quartz Hill. So Benny
Okay.
Brown owns Quartz Hill, and for one weekend, he put on his grandson's hood, home run, picture of me and everything. It's just kind of which is a very expensive thing to do. I should add, that's a lot of money, but he wanted to put my face out there, and got to meet Tyler. We become friends and everything. And Tyler's a great race car driver, a great race car driver. Um, and matter of fact, I think he's one of the best out there. I think he's the future of NASCAR. So big honor. Glad to do it. I'm glad Benny Brown's the president of my label. Normally they don't spend that kind of money on something like that, but I was happy with that.
So now let's talk a little college football. You are from Rogers, Arkansas, so I've got to ask you, are you a college football fan? And if so, is it Arkansas?
Uh, yes, I am a big, huge college football fan. And yes, it is the Arkansas Razorbacks. Woo pig suey. I was
Yes, sir.
born in Rogers, Arkansas, and grew up about 20 miles away from the university there. And so in Arkansas, we don't have a pro team. We don't have a baseball team or a football team or anything. It's usually the Dallas Cowboys or the St. Louis or the Kansas City Chiefs and St. Louis Cardinals. We got a couple of Cubs fans, Texas Rangers. So we got to kind of go out of the state for our major sports, but college football and college basketball, we are all in on that on that on that program. So you can understand how we are pretty unrealistic at times. We're pretty unreasonable as a fan base. We can kind of get a little wild with our takes on Twitter, and when we lose, which we've been doing a lot of, last few years, we get a little upset, and when we win, we're obnoxious.
Right.
It's like it's the weirdest thing ever. You'd think we'd won championships all the time. By the way, we walk around talking crap. When we do win, which I think is funny. A lot of fan bases have that. A&M is kind of like that sometimes. I see them talking a lot of trash when they don't have a lot of championships to show for it. We're not, none of us really are Alabama except Alabama. You know what I mean? So we all want to be, but we ain't.
So, what are some of your fondest memories of being an Arkansas football fan?
Ooh, fondest memories. I tell you what, in 2003, I believe, I went to the Texas Arkansas game at Austin. And I remember listening. I did a show at Billy Bob's the night before. And we were on our way to another show, maybe San Antonio or something. So I drove that morning into Austin and was like an 11 a.m. game or a noon game. And all through the morning drive up to the stadium, I was listening to talk radio station in Austin, and they were talking about what a beating we were about to get from Texas. They had either Chris Sims or no, it wasn't Applewhite. It was after Applewhite. I think Chris Sims was one of those guys, and they had a pretty good offense. And really high. I think they maybe ranked number 2 or something at the time, and we weren't ranked. We had this guy, this new quarterback that was more of a running quarterback. Nobody really knew about, but he was fast. But his name was Matt Jones,
Oh yeah.
and we had Cedric Cobbs, and we had Houston Nutt was our coach, and so everybody's like, all right, they're middle of the pack. They can be decent, but they're going to get drugged. They're going to dragged from Texas. And I mean, I heard the biggest crap talk ever on the talk radio show in the morning. 56-3.
Oh. He must have gone through a spot where, because he is traveling right now, so hopefully he will join back here in just a second. You must have gone through bad service, man.
I'm sorry. And we're parked now, but you never know. Could be
Yeah,
anything these days.
that's fine. So just continue right there with that Texas game.
Yeah. So after all that crap talk, in the morning shows and the fans to walk into the stadium, it was just so obnoxious. Like I said, like all fans can be. I watched a 4-quarter butt whipping from Arkansas onto Texas. And Matt Jones everybody was like, who is this guy? This guy was just running wild all over Texas, who had a really high ranked defense. Now, the caveat was I knew as an Arkansas fan that they had a guy that on their sideline, Texas sideline, that Arkansas was recruiting, but we had no shot at, a guy named Vince Young.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew at some point this game is going to get so bad for Texas. They're going to put that kid in there. And he was a freshman at the time. I'm like, and this kid is the real deal. This guy was for real. Saw him in high school. Nobody liked him. And I just kept sitting there in my seats, like, just please, God, please don't let Matt Brown make this change. Just keep it the way it is. And he never did. He never put Vince Young in. I think we whooped him. It was like 38-24, but it was worse than that. I think they scored a late touchdown or something. But that's the way I remember it. It was just a beating, and I felt great all day long because as an Arkansas fan, we grow up, hating Texas. Here's the funny thing: I married a Longhorn. So that's a funny
Right.
That's a funny dynamic in our household.
All right, and Joe, I've got 3 questions left for you. The first one, staying with Arkansas, they are going through a coaching search right now. Sam Pittman was let go earlier this year, and Bobby Petrino is currently the interim head coach. Who do you feel like would be a perfect fit for Arkansas?
I appreciate that question. I don't know if I can say what a perfect fit is right now. Well, I can tell you what we need. We need somebody that will energize the boosters, the donors, the big money around the program, the Tyson family, the Hunt family, JB Hunt family, John L. Hunt, Brian Hunt, I believe.
Right.
And, the Waltons at some point. There's a couple of people in Walmart. I think McMillan is the guy's name, but there's a few people in the Walton family that I would love to have more support from the university. But a guy named Fletcher is a big guy there. We got a lot of good money donors. They just need something to really get behind and be energized by. So a coach that can come in and excite the boosters and donors, that's number one. Because we need NIL. We need to get the Jimmys and Joes in there, not just the X's and O's. So I've heard the name Gruden tossed around. I don't know how realistic that is, but I've always liked that guy as a coach. Great X's and O's guy, and can create a culture, I think. So would I love to have that guy? Yeah. Would everybody love to have that guy? I don't know. I feel that way about Petrino. There's nobody can argue with the offense that guy's putting on the field right now. It's like top 4 offense in the country. So if you have that team that's nobody really respects at all, but they're putting up 40 points against really good defenses like A&M.
Right.
Putting up 41 points on a good defense, that can't go unnoticed. And put 40 something up against Tennessee, I believe too. So that offense is legit. That is legit. If he could just feel the defense, brings me back to the NIL thing. If Bobby Petrino could excite donors enough to pay for a good NIL support for a defense, I believe that's the guy. There's no doubt about it. I see what I see. I think everybody else sees that offense is unreal good. So if Petrino can do those things, he's your guy. I've seen some names like John Sumrall from Tulane. I believe he's a great coach. I think he might be a good fit. I think a lot of teams are going to be after him. Florida's going to, pay a lot of money for a great coach. I believe if we have other openings around, I think maybe Auburn is going to be in the mix, possibly. Ironically, if Arkansas beats Auburn this week, I think that might be kind of the end for Hugh Freeze. I don't know that for sure. I hate for anybody to lose their job. But so my point is, you're going to be competing with a lot of good schools for a good head coach. So if Bobby Petrino is the worst we can do with all the names that are available out there, I feel great about our search. And I think if it landed Bobby Petrino, I'm all in. I think it's great. Let's give him some money for a defense and offense, and let's get this train rolling. I think he's capable of doing that. So that, like I said, as far as fit, and I should say this, Sam Pittman is a wonderful human being. I wish everybody knew him like I do. That man cares about the Razorbacks. To this day, he cares about the Razorbacks, and he wants the Hogs to win, has always wanted the Hogs to win, and was a team guy, just willing to do a lot. People have no idea. He was willing to do a lot to help the team succeed. I just think there was a mix of things that really just didn't help him at all. And but everybody should know and be appreciative of Sam Pittman because he really is a terrific, wonderful human being.
So, Joe, as we walk out the door, what is next on the agenda for Joe Nichols? Any kind of other studio albums, any more acting? And please let our listeners know about the tour that is coming to Oxford, Alabama, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So next, we just put out a new song. We dropped a new single from our album that's going to come out second quarter of next year.
Okay.
The song's called "Goodbyes Are Hard to Listen To," and it's a stone cold country song. It's an old barroom. It's an old throwback. So if you like steel guitars and you like that barroom, it's kind of like a Brokenheartsville. Slow down a little bit. To me, it's like that. It's got that quality. So the crowd are loving it. Man, it's streaming really great. It's got a lot of good support behind it right now. I'm really happy to see country music fans really embrace this really traditional song. So got a new album coming. Don't know the title of it yet, but like I said, second quarter next year. We'll wrap up the year in a trip to Alabama. We got an Oxford, Alabama show on the 14th, I think, or
Yes.
15th. And then the Alabama football game, I think we'll do a little something for the Alabama-Oklahoma game, which would be fun, man. I've always wanted to see a game at Alabama. That's Tuscaloosa. It's off the I don't know. The old school guy in me says off the hook. I don't know if that's the saying anymore. It's great. It's a great environment. I've always heard about it. So I finally get to see an Alabama game. It'll be a hyped up one because Oklahoma's ranked pretty high. So that'll be fun.
Joe, I would love to have you join me again that week to preview that football.
Yeah, absolutely. And talk about our show in Oxford, Alabama as well. That'd be great too.
Okay. All right. Well, Joe, look, man, this has been a blast. I know that
Thank
you
you.
were on a time crunch. Any final words that you would like to say to our audience? The floor is all yours.
Well, first of all, I appreciate your show, Stingray. It's very,
Thank
very
you.
cool talking to you. I appreciate the intro and the time, and thanks for doing your homework on some of that stuff. That's really cool to kind of relive some of those stats and memories. So I appreciate your time. Thanks for putting me on today. And I'm an SEC football guy, so I'm one of the weirdos that chants SEC because I think it's a different type of animal. I think we got a really special thing with the SEC. So go SEC, but go Hogs, man. We need some good mojo. So go Hogs.
That's right. Woo pig suey, man. Let's go.
Woo pig suey. That's right.
All right. Thank you, man. This has been a blast, and I will be in touch to try to get you on the week of Oklahoma and
Yeah,
Alabama.
you got it, brother. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you.
So, guys, that is going to wrap up my interview there with Joe Nichols. Now, he once again is going to be in Oxford, Alabama at the Oxford Performing Arts Center, November the 14th. and tickets are still on sale right now. So go to OxfordPerformingArtsCenter.com and grab your tickets, because I know that they are going to be going fast for the icon country music artist Joe Nichols. And I really do want to thank him for joining me this evening right here on the Stingray Show. And I really do hope that you guys enjoyed it, talking about his career in music and, of course, his a little love for college football. When we return on the Tuesday evening edition of the Stingray Show, we are going to dive into Week 10 action in the SEC. And guys, we will see you back here at 6 p.m. Hope you enjoyed this little bit of a different show this evening with a country music superstar. Catch you tomorrow evening.